All right. I want to welcome everyone to I.A.M's fourth webinar, as a matter of fact. My name is Alicia Moore. I am the CEO of Clinical Science Research Solutions, and I'm also the founder of I.A.M Research and Wellness Foundation. Both businesses, it was created because I live in Sikeston, Missouri. Clinical research of anything doesn't exist, so I've had to build the infrastructure from the ground up, including this nonprofit organization. So, with this nonprofit organization, we are implementing educational webinars, just like having guest speakers like Kelsey coming on and speaking on the topics that are important to her and what's going on in the industry and how we can, implement those changes, as well as workshops, health and wellness events, and et cetera. So I am going to give Kelsey the floor. I'm going to stop talking because I talk a lot, and I will allow her to introduce herself. But again, we're going to learn a lot from Kelsey's presentation today.
Okay, everybody, how are you doing tonight? I apologize. My laptop took a crash today, so we're working with a tablet. So bear with me on that. I'm Kelsey. I am now a CEO and founder of a pretty big, significant thing that's coming to clinical research, and it really has to do with what we are going to be talking about today. I know that a lot of people don't really know a lot about how the Native Americans have been basically secluded from clinical research, and that has to do with a lot of mistrust. So I'm going to pull up my slide and we will get started.
Awesome.
Okay, let me share my screen with you here. Okay. Hello. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this is not. Bear with me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Take your
My
time.
yeah, my
It
tablet's
happens.
not been the best today. Oh, where are we at here? Well, there it goes. Of course, my stuff's not going to work today. All right. So today we're going to be covering pretty much the history of the Native Americans, how it has affected our industry, and how we can all make a difference. Historically, Native Americans have been taken out of clinical trials. That will be a fun fact in here about Native Americans in clinical research. They have actually not been involved with private research since the 1990s. So that's very interesting. I am hoping this loads here pretty soon. I apologize. Technology.
Do you want to send your slide deck to me and maybe I can go through it for you, or you can just present without your slides if you feel
Okay.
comfortable doing so. Either way, it's fine with me.
I apologize. All right.
Everyone that has joined, please introduce yourselves. I want to know where you're from. I see one individual. It looks like it was, I think I saw Elizabeth Tabor. Hi. We know each other, but everyone else, put your questions in the chat. I want to know where you're from. What do you do? And yeah.
Hi Alisha. Hi Kelsey.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm Dr. Rakesh from Bangalore, India. So I work in clinical research for almost 6.5 years now, and I have served in Indian Army too. So this is about me.
I'm happy to have you. We're happy to
Thank you.
have you here. Yeah.
And Alicia, I've sent that to you.
Okay, awesome. So let's see.
I think while we're waiting, I would like to know how much knowledge everybody has with the Native Americans as well. I think that would be very important. I would like to gauge where everybody's at on the knowledge. Because it was funny because I was talking to a colleague of mine that is in the biotech industry and actually owns a part of a biotech company. And we were having this discussion, and he pretty much told me that there is not a need for clinical trials and research for Native Americans because there wasn't a lot out there. And it surprised me because we were talking about Nashville, Tennessee specifically. And he told me there wasn't any natives in the area. And I was like, there's actually 30,000 members of different tribes in Tennessee. So there is a need for it. So I think that this is so important to talk about. And part of what I'm doing right now in my company and what we're starting is we're going to start trying to bring back the natives and community and trust to the native population. So we're really excited about that. More to come in the next couple months as we come along and hopefully get everything executed. I will have announcements for everybody on that coming soon if you want to learn more. And everybody's always welcome if you have questions before we get started in your sites, in your industry, whatever you do. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I will help you the best I can.
Hi, Kelsey. Well, it looks like the screen is starting, so never mind,
Go,
maybe.
No,
go ahead. I need
you're okay.
to make
Oh,
sure.
well, I was just going to say that there was a point that I lived in Nashville, and what I know about the area, I'm not surprised that you had got such a remark because you can't see me, but I'm black. And I had someone tell me that there wasn't a lot of colored people in the area. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised that you heard that. But in terms of Native Americans overall, I'm going to say I have limited knowledge. I mean, being in Tennessee, the Indian Trail went through here. So, like, yes, I kind of know that story. I keep up with what's happening now in the news, but overall, I'm gonna say not a lot. I can't really name no tribes. I can't really point to on the map where they are mostly at, but I would say I do know enough to know that enough exists to, do it. And I feel like, even if it's just one person, they should still be acknowledged and counted for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of the problem is, and we'll get into it today, there's a huge historical distrust there. And there is a certain thing that happened that we will go over that really pivoted what's happening in clinical research with the Native Americans. I do want everybody to keep in mind before this discussion, the FDA has all but said that if we do not start including everybody, and that would be Native Americans, they're going to start cracking down. So we're going to go
Wow.
over how to build relationships, how to identify relationships. And it's good that you don't know a lot about natives because you're going to learn a lot. They're not like any other community in the world. Their belief system is very architect, or how do I want to say this? Very,
It's very
old school. Very spiritual.
spiritual.
Hold on.
It's like
Give me an echo. But it's very spiritual. So we really have to be careful about how we approach them, and that's the most important part. So I don't know why this is.
Let's see. You want to try again?
Yeah, it's doing it for everybody though.
Hi Terry, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, Terry, can you mute yourself? Let me see if that's better. Okay. I was like, I can mute myself. So yeah, we're going to get into historical distrust, but we'll go over that a little bit more when we get the slide.
So, everyone, let me know whenever you can actually see the slide deck. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, Kelsey, are you ready?
I cannot see it, but I can go over.
Oh, you can't see it?
Let me see if hold on. Let me try right now. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
You can see it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn my camera off. And
all right, everybody, we're going to get started. So bear with me on this. I am not the best at PowerPoint. I can tell you all day about tribal affairs and hospital administration, clinical research, but I am not a PowerPoint girl. So bear with me. As you know, my name is Kelsey, and we're going to be discussing tribal barriers in clinical trials. It's super important, especially in this area that I live in. I'm from Tulsa. We have 5 civilized tribes here. We have over, about 200 tribes in the United States. There's actually, in Alaska alone, they have a consortium that has 113 alone. So there's a lot of Native Americans. It involves anywhere from Oklahoma, New Mexico, Tennessee. Typically, we will find that Native Americans will be heavily populated in Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, those Texas, obviously, but Oklahoma being the number one. So we're going to dive deep. And if you guys have any questions, please stop me. Like I said, I'm not great at this, so let me know. Okay. All righty. So on the agenda today, we're going to talk about the trust gap, historical distrust. We're going to cover how we are approaching them as a site or a pharmaceutical company or a CRO or sponsor. We're going to talk about what we're doing wrong, what we can do to fix that, and why should we care? Because we haven't had them in clinical research since the 90s, so why care now? Obviously, you guys know who I am. Dr. Rakesh, I heard you, and then let's hear about from everybody else exactly where they came from, because I'd like to know exactly where you're at as far as the clinical research, what kind of industry you're in. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to share so I can gather my thoughts. Nobody wants to share, then we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, so operational barriers. That's what we're going to get into first. So a little bit about me. I got my career started when I graduated high school. Actually, I joined an internship with the Cherokee Nation. They are one of the 5 civilized tribes in Oklahoma and one of actually the biggest tribes. I did facilities management, reporting, small things, but I got to see how the nation and the tribes really handle healthcare and business and economics. So it really prepared me for my knowledge today and how I do education and how I teach my coordinators and my staff how to approach people. I want to point out a point that we are definitely going to make today is you're not going to approach everybody the same. So please remember that as we move on. I got started after that. I went to college and got my degree and also got my surgical tech license and did surgery for a few years. I absolutely hated it. So I switched to the clinic side and the hospital side of operations. I started at a heart transplant clinic with one of my favorite, still to this day, employers in advanced heart failure, heart transplant, LVAD, and research. So that's when I finally got to see a little bit of the research side, what it takes. We were specifically in the biomarkers industry, so predispositions, those types of things. So I didn't get to dive too deep. After that, I moved on to a clinic that sees about 150 to 200 patients a day. It was pretty chaotic, and we had research there as well. So that's when I started really honing in on my research skills, understanding exactly what it takes to execute a trial that is successful. I then went on to be a director of clinical research and operations for a site in Tulsa. This is actually where a lot of my initiative stances come from. I saw when I was there that the coordinators there and some of the staff, there was a huge disconnect between the clinical industry or the clinical research industry and the community. So with that being said, I saw that people couldn't even approach people. Partnerships were getting lost. Community events weren't getting seen. We were missing out on patients, patient enrollments going down. And a huge part of that is because we just didn't involve the community anymore. My community here in Tulsa, Oklahoma is very Indian populated, Hispanic populated. So we're missing these populations because we don't know how to talk to them. So what I started was I teamed up with Santa Fe Cultural Inclusion and Diversity Department on how we can A, bring education around these matters, and B, how we can help the sites, really hone in on their skills and try to mend these relationships, because that's where it starts. So I have been doing this for about 3 years now. I don't do webinars very often, but I do help sites around and also hospital systems and clinics really understand the problem, how to tackle this problem, and how to keep it going. That way there's a longevity and trustful relationship that you have for generations to come. After that, I left the site, and I have recently started in the past 2 years help a regenerative clinic get started on basically a startup. So that's SOPs. What does their clinic look like? Pretty much holding their hand through the process. It's been different. Now they are starting to hopefully get into research with the stem cell side of research, which is actually pretty cool because Tulsa's never had anything like that. So it's different, it's innovative. And then as of last week, I am now a CEO and founder of a biotech company in the healthcare sector, and there will be more to come on that. So we're super excited. So be looking out for that on my LinkedIn page. We'll have more announcements pretty soon. Okay, so learning objectives that we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be understanding why the sites are struggling, why we're even just, yep, somebody have a question? Oh, okay, so understand why the sites are struggling to enroll Native Americans. Like I said, it's a huge disconnect there. I'm sure a lot of you have seen where the problem is and where the problem lies and why your staff is having these issues. If you think about it like this, if somebody does not trust you and doesn't know anything about you, why would you expect them to have you poke and prod on them, be in their personal space, and let them into your personal life? You're giving them hours of your week. You're giving them blood. You're giving them all kinds of things. And quite honestly, for nothing in return, a small compensation for $1 billion corporation. So people see this industry as a cold, hard machine. And if I'm being quite frank honest, it is. So there's really not a lot of humanity left in it. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to go over. So the second one is identifying operational barriers that we have and the impact of the tribal, that it's how it's affected our tribes in the nation. So also we're going to be learning about engagement strategies. How are you going to approach these tribes? Where are you going to look for them at? Because I guarantee that at least probably 90% of you in here, and this is no, this to you guys at all, but you don't know how to approach a tribe. There's going to be different ways that you'll have to do that, and we'll have to get into that. Also, on the back end, we're going to talk about how to tackle these barriers, some things that you can do to obviously, help build relationships. And then we're going to go over why you should care. Okay, so why sites fail? Well, actually, first, before we start, I want to go over a bit of a question, and I want to see where everybody's at. This is a mandatory question because I do have to see where everybody's at. I'm going to give you 3 options and a question, and then I want you to choose your best answer. So the question will be, if you have a site that's failing on Native American enrollment or enrollment period in an unreserved community, what are going to be actually, let's focus on Native Americans. If you're having difficulty enrolling Native Americans in a study, what are you going to do? What's going to be your first cause of action or, road to action? Number 1, it's going to be, are you going to change the way you market? So that means, are you going to change your pamphlets? Or are you going to create new education? That's the first answer. Second answer is, are you going to send people out to recruit differently? Are you going to cold call? Are you going to try to see where this Native American tribe is hanging out or being a nonprofit? Number 3 is that, are you going to start with consultations with the tribe, ask leadership where they're at and engage? So I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to decide. And if you will just comment, or we can take turns answering, I would appreciate it.
I will definitely say understanding their culture. And I say that because Sikeston, Missouri, in this area, we don't have anything clinical research. And I know before I plop a site open, or at the time, the thing for me was to understand where are you at as far as your knowledge with clinical research. And of course, you know me as Alicia Moore, or maybe Isaiah Moore's mother, but what do you know about clinical trials, and how uncomfortable are you with it? Do you even want to be approached by it? So the thing with me is, I started small conversations within the community with different people, whether it's at the Y, or Starbucks, a restaurant, Walmart, it didn't matter. You start with smaller conversations to understand where people are in their knowledge of clinical research and what makes them uncomfortable about it. That's my take on it. So everyone else, you can maybe come off mute or put your answers in the chat.
Yes, I do agree with Alicia's points, because most of the open trials, they give an open invitation to everyone, but they're not understanding what's missing. That missing point is the key to the increase the ethnicity inclusion in the clinical trials, I suppose, because we need to understand them. To understand them, we need to ask questions to them, like what issues they're facing, what were their beliefs. Because once the belief pattern changes, everything changes and everything falls into the place.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Dr. Rakesh, that was a very good point. Anybody else? I know Phil answered in the chat, so we'll be able to see that. So he said all 3. Okay, it's a good point.
He also He
Go ahead.
also emphasized on getting in touch with the tribal leaders and to go to their events that they put on. And again, that's actually understanding their culture and how they actually operate in their community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to give a few seconds for somebody else to hop on, and then we're going to move on. Okay, so why do sites fail to enroll Native American patients? I'm going to start off by saying part of it is not our fault today. A lot of it has to do with the people here before us, unfortunately. I'm going to tell you guys a story to set you guys up for understanding exactly why we are here today and why we have no Native American patients. We do have a few research sites that are academic across the industry that do see Native Americans, but it's very far and few between. The nations do have their own somewhat research, but it's nowhere near where we are in the private sector. So, with that being said, part of the reason why we're here is because in the 1990s, we had a clinical trial and study by a very major university. I'm not going to get into who it was. You can do your research, it is online. Major university that approached a tribe in the Grand Canyon area. When they approached this tribe, they approached it and consented the patients that it was going to be a type 2 diabetes study, that they were trying to study predispositions to type 2 diabetes, which Native Americans are typically prone to. There's a very high rate of cardiovascular disease, diabetes 2 and 1, and also mental health disorders and alcoholism. So that was the agreement, that they were only allowed to test for diabetes. It was only 1 tube a month of blood, so very easy study to do. It could have been executed very quickly without any pain and suffering, but that's unfortunately not what happened. This university took their biomarkers and tested it not only for diabetes, they tested it for IVF, they tested it for schizophrenia, they tested it for ancestral data. And you're like, okay, well, why does that matter, Kelsey? And I'm going to tell you why that matters. Every tribe, doesn't matter who they are, if they're federally recognized or if they're not, have their own belief system. That's what makes them stand out. So what that means is they're going to think spiritually different than you. They're going to think different on the terms of what it has to do with the earth and how the sun is basically controlling things. They will blame things on, like, if something's going bad in their life, it's because the sun's not completely set in a certain area. And so it gets very deep. Not every tribe has the same beliefs. Creek Nation, for instance, the tribe that I'm a part of, perfect example. In Oklahoma right now, the state is having a huge disagreement about car tags. So what that means is let me back up. The state of Oklahoma and the tribal nations got into a bit of an argument recently, where they have found that the state of Oklahoma does not own the state of Oklahoma. You guys are more than welcome to look this up. It's actually a huge thing that's happened here and movement in Oklahoma that's changed a lot of things for the natives. So Oklahoma doesn't actually own this state. It's the 5 civilized tribes. So what that changes for us is, and this is just an example, so don't take me seriously. For me being Native American, say I went out and got in some legal trouble or got arrested. They are not, the state of Oklahoma, city of police, or city of Tulsa police are not allowed to arrest me. I will have to be brought in by the light horse police from Oklahoma City. It's a thing. Once you're in the system, then they have to send that to the tribe, because the state of Oklahoma does not own any jurisdiction over any Native American in the state of Oklahoma. So that changes things a lot. So with that being said, going back to the sites being, or the tribes being different, What that caused and effect was the natives basically, or the tribes had to agree to a certain extent of things and disagree to others. So for instance, Cherokee Nation, they allow the state of Oklahoma to see their registered vehicle tags so the police can pull them over. My tribe, they're like, absolutely not. You're not getting any information about our citizens, but that goes back to mistrust. So they won't allow the state of Oklahoma to give us toll or mandate tolls on us. They can't give us tickets. We don't have to pay for our tags. So there's a lot that goes into that. So I want you to understand that every tribe is going to be different and how you approach them. A lot of times we forget that, well, you don't know, you're not educated, that they are different. So with that being said, I know we're kind of hopping back and forth, but you need to know a couple of points before I can make my point. So everybody is a little different as far as tribe goes and what their beliefs are. So what that means is with the Havsupai tribe, by them taking those biomarkers and testing it for other things, they believe that this certain tribe, their spiritual belief is that if you take any part of their body, whether it be blood, fingernails, hair, it does not matter, without their permission, their soul, after they die, will stay here on earth. So as you can see, that is a huge problem, right? So we're getting into religion issues. We're getting into diversity issues. We're really kind of crossing the line when it comes to the law about respecting religion, because it is their religion. So what happened was when the Havasupai tribe found this out, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that exactly correct. So I apologize if I'm not. If anybody is a part of that, I would love to be educated if not. So what happened was it basically tore their tribe apart. It was destructional. They were devastated. They sued this university for $750 million and they won that lawsuit. So that's exactly where our history has pivoted. Natives have dropped out of clinical research after that. I know a lot of you are not going to know this. So if anybody does know it, I want to know if you know it, because everybody I've talked to has no idea. Everybody knows we have IRBs in clinical research. Does anybody here know, besides Phil, because I just told him the other day, did you know that they have tribal IRBs? Does anybody know that? So they do. So they have several tribal IRBs in the nation. I think they've got about 11 now. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to read chat as we go. So they have tribal IRBs. So what that means is if you want to start a clinical trial or a study and you want to involve the Native Americans, you will have to go through the regular IRB. And then when that's approved, you will have to go through the tribal IRB. This is not a fast process. For instance, with the tribe, if you get a grant, it could take 6 months. If you get help with funding, it will take 6 months. So the tribal IRB does not care about our time because they are working on their time. It goes through several layers of decision making in the council. So they may have a approval at the front, but they're going to have a leadership meeting. They're going to have a council meeting. And then they'll have to have a citizenship meeting. They view it as there's not one government. There are speakers. So the leadership are their speakers. Everybody is involved in the process of making decisions. And typically what is wild and crazy is that the government officials, like your Chamber of Commerce, your president, they are trumped by elders in that tribe. So what that means is, say you have a CEO or a president that is in the tribe, you would think that that's the person that is in charge, when in all reality, it's going to be their 85-year-old grandmother that's deciding everything. That's how they view things. That's all they've always been. Elders come first no matter what. So why are we failing? Well, we're failing because we don't know anything. We're failing because we don't know how to approach these tribes. You will approach these tribes in different ways. So, for instance, if you are wanting to, I'll give an example. If you're wanting to start a trial in Oklahoma and you know that Cherokee Nation is the top tribe in the nation and that's who you're going to be working for, you need to be, or you need to have an understanding of how they operate, how their socioeconomic situation is, what are their needs, what are their history, what is going on in their nation right now, what their government looks like. There's so many factors that go into that, and it's going to be different for everyone. So that's what makes Native American and clinical trials hard, because a lot of people don't know about these things. Also, yeah, if you guys will drop your questions in the chat so I can see, I've got it up. So I will try to answer them as we go. But yeah, you won't approach everybody the same. So education is a huge, huge factor into this. What we don't know, we're scared of. And I truly believe that this industry and sponsors are scared to death of approaching the Native Americans. Another thing, they're backed by the federal government. So what does that mean? We're going to have to approach it completely differently. And I'm going to back up just a second. Elizabeth, you had a question about the IRB.
Yes. So I did not know that a tribal IRB was the thing, and I was curious to know if there's a discussion about like saving slots for them in studies, or if their way of thinking is weaponized against them. So I was a former CRA, and what would happen is with competitive enrollment sites, a lot of sites were selected, but they may not have gotten to start because of where they fell in the process. So I'm hearing, yes, they want to be a part of this, but their timelines can be 2 times as long. So they can get an administrative, yes, you're a part of this study, but they actually never get to participate because by then all the slots are gone. So I wanted to know, is that like something the community is working on in terms of advocacy and making sure that their processes are respected and that they're not being administratively kept out?
That's actually a really good question. And it's funny that you said that. And I will go into that. I can't go into too much detail. I'm going to try to answer your question as best as I can. However, I can't go into a lot of it just because of certain reasons. But so the answer to your question is no, nobody is doing anything about it at all. We are not educating. We're not sending people out as liaisons to understand the tribe. We're not communicating with the tribe on timelines. We're not basically starting before we get to that point. So basically no. The answer to your question is no. I know I have not found anybody like me in clinical trials. So if that answers your question, I don't know if anybody else, and there may be, I don't know if there is,
that
but
answers it. Yes, because I understand the difference between a passive yes and an active yes. And it just kind of sounds like one of the barriers is passive yeses. Like they know these steps have to be followed, but there's no accommodations to those.
mhm.
So even if on paper, like sure, we let them in, they never actually got to participate, which is clearly why we're here and learning about this problem.
Yeah.
So thank you for even letting me know that tribal IRBs are a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say this. I am working currently towards a project that hopefully will bridge that gap completely. Like I said, I can't get into it a lot, but more to come on that, hopefully in the near future. So, but there needs to be more people that talk about this and the issues that we're having. I want everybody to remember too, going back to race and ethnicity and diversity, say you have a Caucasian male or an African American woman or whoever that may be, and you decide that you want to go in and recruit these patients and these tribes, they're going to laugh at you. So, and that's not a diss to anybody. Once again, it's goes back to mistrust. They are only going to trust the people that are their people. So Native Americans, people that have struggled and have been through these things and see the barriers. And then B, somebody that they know. So for instance, like for me, my family, my entire family works on the reservation for Creek Nation. And so I obviously have been around this my entire life. And I know how governance works and hierarchy works in the nation. They make me mad too, though. They do move slow. So I think that is also something that that I'm working on with the leaders in the area and the tribes in the area on how we need to have better processes, because theoretically at the end of the day, it's really just signing a piece of paper and talking to people and getting approved, right? So I think it can move faster. We do need to keep in mind too that they're dealing with the federal government. We all know the federal government moves at the pace of a snail. So realistically, we should know these things. However, unfortunately, we don't. So the point of this part of my slide or my presentation is we don't know. So where does that start? So moving on to the next slide, what actually works? So what works is the question that I had asked you guys earlier. The correct answer to that question is you are absolutely going to start with the leadership and the council. You need to do that because it's a form of respect. It is a way of understanding what their needs are, what they want, and how you can put on a successful study. And also the biggest thing too in these things, and really the takeaway of this entire webinar should be, is you're going to build generational trust. If they know you, they're going to give you more studies. If it's successful, they're going to give you more studies. They're going to speed up for you, especially when we're talking money, because revenue is good for the tribe too. And also the amount of research and data that we can do for the tribes is huge. They're under-reserved communities, they're rural areas, and they don't have the proper healthcare that we have. I don't know if any of you have ever, I don't know where everybody's at, of course, geographically, but here in Oklahoma, there's a clinic for everything for Native Americans, but also we live in the most populated state for Native Americans. So of course we see that there's 5 civilized tribes here. We've got Creek Nation, Cherokee Nation, Shawnee, Pawnee, and Choctaw. So very big nations. So you're going to start with their council first. I encourage you, if you're going to take that path, make sure you're doing as much education as you can on their history, because that's going to change things. I encourage you to look at their barriers. So what is stopping them from going to clinical research or being in clinical research? So is it transportation, or is it approvals? Is it family decision making? Because that is a huge part of the Native American culture too, is family decision making. They are going to involve their family. So like for instance, with something like consenting, if you're going to consent a patient, you expect to get it done in an hour and a half. Well, that's not the case. They're going to have to go home and talk to grandma about it. They're going to have to get their aunt involved. They're going to have to get their senior leader of a group involved. So you need to expect what family decision making, what to expect when it comes to family decision making, and how that's going to put a barrier and on your trial. What else works? Getting to know them and their communities. So what that looks like is getting out to events, getting out to powwows. I don't know if anybody knows what a powwow is. I'm sure everybody kind of gets an idea, but it's a ceremony that goes back to our ancestors so many years, especially in Oklahoma. Also, kind of speaking on the mistrusting, I know I'm kind of going back and forth, but I want to mention something too. Back in, I can't exactly remember what year, but like 1890, something like that. And it's actually a movie now, and I can't remember what the movie's called either. So don't quote me. But in the 1890s ish, they Oklahoma had the most financially wealthy oil population in the entire world, and they were a Shawnee Nation. I'm sorry, Pahuska, Shawnee Nation of Pahuska, and they what happened was there was a certain family really involved in it, but the community as a whole was the most financially evolved community in the world at the time. I'm talking millions of dollars at this time. What happened was the government found out about it, and they had a couple businessmen come into Oklahoma, and they would start. What they did was they would sign people up for insurance, and then they would have them murdered and collect insurance. So there was over 120 natives murdered in a span of like a year. And we're talking about the 1890s, so you can imagine how much or how many people that is. And it was specifically with this family. So that's really also where a lot of mistrust has come from the government and business and finance industry. So really, they don't trust anybody but their own people. So that's a good question, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth asked, is there mistrust amongst Native American doctors and non-Native American doctors? I'll be honest with you, no. I haven't seen that a lot because Native American doctors are theoretically contracted by a federal entity. So you're going to see your actually Navy doctors is crazy. Your Army doctors is a huge one. If you're in the military and you're a physician, you typically come over to the Native side. So no, I don't see that a lot. They do theoretically think the same way. They refer out to people. So no, I don't see that a lot. But going into that, I do see a lot of people that are very hateful in the tribe. So say you go up and you try to talk to a secretary and you're Hispanic or white or what have you, she's probably going to be rude to you. I actually have run into that myself the past couple of days on the phone because she doesn't know who certain people don't know who I am. But it's funny how hateful and cold and stoic they will be. No, referrals do not extend to clinical trials at all. That is not something that exists. I'm hoping that, maybe one day that could happen, but right now I don't see that happening anytime soon, because we have to be very careful with coercion issues on that and how the tribe will view it. So I have not seen that yet. No. Hopefully one day. Okay, so let's move on. We already talked about tribal IRBs, so we can skip that. Well, if my slide will work. Okay, so why do sponsors care? This is a good one. So right now, little trade secret, sponsors are chomping at the bit to get this information. They have never had it. They don't know how to get into it. They don't have people that know how to get into it. This is why it's important that we educate ourselves on it and we make we put people in a position of being a liaison. I truly think that we need to have more tribal leaders involved in research, but it's kind of the nature of the game right now. But sponsors care because the FDA, like I said, has all but come out and said that if they don't start including certain communities, they're going to start cracking down and they're going to start scrambling. And you cannot build relationships with scrambling. You cannot build relationships, especially with Native Americans, in a matter of 2 seconds, like the trial industry likes to try to do. So that's never going to work. So they care because they need this data. Also, it's going to be mandatory at some point that, obviously everybody is had a drug, saw the efficacy of it and how it's affecting everybody, or it's not going to be approved by the FDA. So huge thing. It's funny, when I was working with Sanofi, and they're amazing too. I want to say this, their culture, inclusion, and diversity program is top notch. So if you ever want to work with anybody or learn more, I suggest you reaching out to them. They've done a lot for me and my clinic, and more importantly, the Native Americans in the area. I will say this too. Something really cool I can give you guys is I did start an initiative here in Oklahoma last year where we were providing education and clinical trials, because a lot of times you'll see that they don't even understand what clinical trials means, and what really is involved in that and the time commitment. So my team would go to events. For instance, we were at the Cherokee Nation cancer event last year, the diabetes convention for Creek Nation, the small business owners for Native Americans. So just various different events. And we would pass out, material and talk to people and ask them where they're at. And quite frankly, nobody knew exactly what clinical trials meant. And to be honest with you, what I had worked in healthcare for 12 years before I even got into clinical trials. And when I got into it, I had no idea what they were either. And that's scary to me because I did work in healthcare. So I really think that there needs to be more education surrounded it, and that's where it needs to start. Education methods I've seen work. That's a good question. So I have seen obviously studying on it. I can send. I'm happy, Elizabeth, if you will shoot me your email, or to Alicia, either one. I will be happy to send you some of those, or we can have a private chat about some of those things that work. So yeah, so education for sure, definitely. You can look up the history of the tribe, all kinds of different education things around that. You can Google it. That I do encourage people to get with your local tribe. See if you can set up a virtual meet with your leaders in the area. Typically, tribes will have their educators that will be happy to have you on site on the reservation to show you a little bit about their ancestry, their spiritual ancestry. And you will find that it's actually super interesting. They typically have their artifacts there. So you're going to be able to see pottery and things like that. If you guys are around a Hard Rock, if you are around a Hard Rock, typically Cherokee Nation's involved with that. We have Cherokee Nation Hard Rock here in Tulsa. They have gift shops there that will sell pottery and jewelry made by the Native American tribe. So you can go in there and check that out. And they will have cards on people that have done that. And they usually have pages for you to learn more. So I also encourage you to get onto the Indian Bureau of Tribal Affairs website. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's .gov. But you can type in Indian Bureau of Tribal Affairs, and it will tell you a lot more about what the government's doing for the Native Americans right now. For instance, they have an economic grant for, oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought, for computer science education. They've allotted $998 million to go to the tribes right now to get that funded. So the need is there. The need is there for sure. But yeah, going back to that, Elizabeth, I will message you at some point and we will talk further about that. Okay.
Okay, yes, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
I have learned a lot, and yeah, I have 1,000,001 more questions now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm happy to answer those. I don't know what your schedule looks like tonight or the next few days, but we'll talk more about that. And I will kind of take you through some more detailed notes if you want me to, and the things that I've ran into and what I've done that's been successful.
Yeah, I hear some cultural overlaps about how our populations react to clinical trials. And something that I know, or I think I know, is that, Native Americans are more into holistic medicine. And that makes me, wonder what sponsors' perception is of if we put this medicine, if we test it in this population, how likely are they even to take it? Much how they look at rare disease stuff. Because I had an opportunity to go to the Rare Disease Congress, and they were just kind of saying that for the bigger ones, obviously pharmaceutical companies are willing to invest in, but some of them either they end up having to use like orphan drugs, or it's a lot of self-funded because the industry looks at it like overall, like not a lot of people be taking this medicine. And I know it's a bit different, but I wonder, is that just kind of something they consider?
It's actually and if I'm being quite honest, it's actually ridiculous because they definitely do need regular medicine. There is let me think here, four major hospital systems here that see thousands of patients a day for Native Americans. In fact, they just built an 80,000 square foot hospital here called Council Oaks that has cardiology, advanced medicine, pulmonary, rare disease, infectious disease. So I think it's absolute bull honky, if you get me. I think that they just don't want to take the steps to make those improvements.
I could agree
So
with that for sure.
yeah,
But I just know in the beginning you had mentioned that you've experienced different objections and how they say, well, you've heard that some people say that it's not worth it. And it's just kind of like, why would they feel like it's not worth it when Native Americans have a whole checkbox
correct.
when
Yeah.
it turns to what are your demographics?
Yes, it's
So
crazy to me. um, it's actually
yeah.
hard for me. I'm sorry, guys, my tablet's kind of crazy, but bear with me. My takeaway on this, or I guess the question to your aunt, the answer to your question, I get ahead of myself because I get passionate about it, guys. So there is a very big need. I really wish I could take you guys to my screen right now and show you my window outside and let you see what I see. But it's growing. I will say that. For instance, a couple nations have just recently procured a couple huge industries as far as they're getting into energy and oil and gas. So things are changing. The federal government, I have actually been in conversations with IHS here in Oklahoma the past couple days because I wanted to learn a little more before obviously today, and then so that way I could help you guys and just give a little bit more education around it. But IHS has told me that they are really getting involved in things with the FDA, the DEA. So I really foresee the next 5 years, the industry completely changing. And also it be a requirement that some type of participation is involved with Native Americans. On the other side of things, I'm going to leave you guys with this. So basically takeaway is education, getting to know your people. And why would you not want to get to know your people? If you have a community that you're trying to serve, I will never understand why you wouldn't want to get to know the people that you're serving, because it's going to make you a better health clinician and an overall researcher. So what I want you guys to think about is who are these people? Where did they come from? And how I can help mend the trust that's there again, because it starts with our sites on the ground and our coordinators and people like Elizabeth asking questions and getting educated. So I encourage you to really look into that the next few days. If anybody is interested, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. Kelsey Powell is my name. Obviously, you saw it on the side, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me on there. And I will try to respond as quickly as I can. If you want to know more about some of the tribes that we have, and kind of what to look for when researching what is going to be successful. So I really appreciate everybody that's been here today. And hopefully in the future, I will have some more answers for you surrounding some things that we can do to be better advocates and bring awareness to clinical trials and research. I'm super excited about the future. And if, like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and hopefully you will see more of this in the future.
Thank you. Do you want to go ahead and drop your LinkedIn link in
Yeah,
the chat
absolutely.
so they can go ahead and connect with you because you dropped a lot of valuable gems, information, and a lot of things I didn't know. I know we have previously talked before we hosted this webinar today, but it was very, very informative, and I hope you all are able to take something with you and learn. And there are some nuances to every culture in this lifetime, but it kind of mirrors African American culture too, to a certain extent, and what I'm dealing with in my community as well. Because again, a lot of times some of the people that have been in the industry for a while or they're around like the same people, they have a tendency to believe that it's okay just to open up, get the principal investigator, let's just open up a site and just magical things are going to happen and patient and recruitment and retention is just going to all fall out of the sky and be so wonderful whenever it's not. You have to actually just develop a relationship with whatever community that it is where you are, and then go from there and just kind of build that foundation little bit by little bit. Because if not, whenever you open up a clinical research site, this is how I view it in my area because we don't have a clinical research of anything here. Your patient recruitment, you can forget it because they don't
Yeah,
even know anything about clinical research and they don't even trust what's going on in the medicine or the government in the first place. So
yeah,
it's best to start with, I say myself, and then because I am an African American woman, it'll be a lot easier to convey the message little bit by little bit and understanding where people meet people where they are and the questions will eventually come. So I'll say for myself now that I've been posting and talking and posting and videos and talking, whenever I go to the Nissan dealership or whatever I go to the Y or wherever I go, people are now saying, hey, you're that science girl or you're the clinical research girl or how's your business going, when are you going to open up? So by the time you open up the clinical research site, your patient enrollment or the education or the knowledge of is going to be there. So getting to the people will be a little bit easier versus just, doing it, I call it cold, kind of like a cold opening and not, there's no warmth there. There's no familiarity there. So now at this point, by the time I do actually open up the site, it won't be so foreign, if you will. You're going to have your people in the community that's not going to still understand, and that's okay. That's why we're here. But I'm going to say the majority of it, they will begin to understand, and then it will start trickling in. And what will happen is, as long as you have a great reputation, doing what you're supposed to do, abiding by the regulatory bodies, then the word will spread abroad, and then people will come to know and trust you. Not everybody, but I will say the majority of it. And that's where I would say that's where your wins are going to be. It's just by starting small and being honest and truthful.
yeah, absolutely. I always tell people, this is my motto, and it's been my motto for everything. It doesn't matter if you're Native American, whoever. I meet people where they're at. So what that means is if they're having a bad day, I'm going to meet them there. If they're having the best time of their life and they're successful, I'm going to meet them there. Everybody's not going to understand the same way. It's going to be up to you to figure out how people are going to A, hear the message, and B, trust you at the end of the day.
And that's what
So
it boils down to. So Philip, he says, thank you, Kelsey, for spreading your knowledge and teaching us how we can tap into tribal communities and just tapping into diverse communities in general. Thank you, Philip.
yeah, thanks, Phil. I really appreciate that. I, Phil and I have actually been talking here recently because he's from Oklahoma as well, about, some of the barriers. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And hopefully, like I said, there's going to be more to come for you guys. I'm going to try to get some education out there. So, and if you guys need me, and I'm available and you need a coaching session or you need resources or what have you, please reach out to me and I will get back with you as soon as I can.
All right. This was excellent. So anybody that has any questions, please reach out to Kelsey. As far as I.A.M Research and Wellness Foundation, we will be hosting monthly webinars and we have some events coming up soon. So we have your email. We will be spreading the word abroad. And if you are wanting to partner with us, sponsor us, please reach out to me, or you can email I.A.M I almost forgot the email address. IamForHealth.org, and let us know what you are wanting to do. So, and we'll be happy to have you a part of our community.
Awesome.
Anybody
Thank you so much.
else?
Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate the opportunity today too.
Yes, I love it, love it, love it. Something different, and I know people that actually listen to this webinar, they're going to be very intrigued and learn everything about what it should take to, get your community involved in clinical trials.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right. I'm going to stop the recording and